Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamerspro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. It is officially NBA opening night, and I'm sure a good amount of you are as excited as I am. As a matter of fact, some of the games we have, well, the only two games we have tonight on opening night are going to be the Boston Celtics versus the New York Knicks. And, of course, the later game is going to be the Lakers versus the Timberwolves. And we put up two polls on our channel about an hour or so ago. It will be a few hours by the time you watch this show. So make sure you go ahead and vote. Essentially asking the audience who they think is going to win those games. So in the first game, we asked them who's going to win between the Knicks and the Celtics. Out of 821 voters, 68% are going with the Celtics. 32% are going with the Knicks. And then the next one, about 1,800 voters, 79% are going with the Wolves, while 21% are going with the Lakers. So we have that going on there. There's a lot of excitement there. But right before this opening week, we just got these rankings that were dropping from TNT. And the rankings are basically the top 50 players that Kenny Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, and Charles Barkley chose, right? And as a matter of fact, I think it was on NBA on TNT or on TNT, the YouTube page, were actually reacting to their rankings. I think you had Vince Carter and Candace Parker, if I'm not mistaken. They were going through the rankings and kind of saying what they thought. So as I was going through the rankings, I actually saw it this morning when I woke up. I was like, what is this nonsense here? But then there was a pretty interesting one that has been creating a lot of attention. It has to do with Charles Barkley's top 20, but more specifically his top 10, where essentially he left out LeBron James and is causing a lot of people to be like, oh, Charles is hating again on LeBron and all of that. Okay, so let's go over Charles's list here. And we want to put it up for you here. We're getting this one from House of Highlights. It goes Chuck's top 20 players in the NBA. Number 1, Nikola Jokic. Number 2, Luka Doncic. Number 3, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Number 4, Joel Embiid. Number 5, Stephen Curry. Number 6, Jaylen Brown. Number 7, Jason Tatum. Number 8, Kevin Durant. Number 9, SGA. Number 10, Anthony Davis. And then we get to number 11, where the controversy is, where Chuck has LeBron James ranked as the 11th best player. Then after that, he has Bam Adebayo, Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, Lauri Markkanen, Paolo Banchero, De'Aaron Fox, Kyrie Irving, Scotty Barnes, and Pascal Siakam. So let me just address one quick point before we get to the next point. Let's look at Charles Barkley's top 4. He has Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid. Of those 4 players, who's the most injured player on that list? I think it's safe to say that it's Joel Embiid, right? Joel Embiid missed the majority of the season last year, and we just got word that he'll probably never play any back-to-backs for the rest of his NBA career, which means that Joel Embiid is a very injury-prone player. Do you know who's outside of Charles Barkley's top 50? Kawhi Leonard. Do you know the reason why? Injuries. So how did Kawhi Leonard make it out of the top 50, but Joel Embiid made it in the top 5 for when they both have the exact same issue, which is injuries? I don't know. Just y'all help me figure it out. But now, let's look at his actual top 10. I agree with Nikola Jokic at number 1. I think that Giannis should be 2, but I'm cool with Luka being 3. I believe that those players that he listed, Nikola Jokic, Luka, Giannis, are the 3 best players in the world. If Joel Embiid is healthy, I will put it at 4 right there. And then that's when it gets interesting, because he has Stephen Curry, which I have no problem with. He has Jaylen Brown. Well, he did win the Finals MVP for goodness sake. You have Jason Tatum. It'd be hard to leave him out when he was the only American player last year that made the All-NBA first team. So how he would not make it on the top 10, it would be you would have to explain to me how we would have second team and third team guys making it over. The only American guy to actually make the All-NBA first team last year. Y'all figure it out. Then he has Kevin Durant, which I'm sure some LeBron fans will be like, well, KD, LeBron is better than you. You have that aspect of it. Then he has SGA and he has Anthony Davis. Now, personally, I think Anthony Edwards should replace Kevin Durant. And that should have rounded out the top 10. And I would have kept Anthony Davis in the top 10 and LeBron out of it, because I think that Anthony Davis is the best player on the Lakers. I think he is the best player on the Lakers. So him being in Charles Barkley's top 10, I have no issue with that. I think that he got that right. The only parts I don't understand about his list are Kevin Durant being above Anthony Edwards, especially Anthony Edwards. The fact that he can affect both sides of the court. He does play on both sides of the ball. You have that there. And the other thing I didn't understand is Joel Embiid. Not because I don't think Joel Embiid is a top 10 player, because he is. The only thing I don't understand is his criteria for excluding Kawhi because he's injury prone, but then keeping Joel Embiid. That's the only thing I didn't understand. And Kawhi Leonard made the all-second team NBA team last year. So I don't know. And as a matter of fact, he played more games than Joel Embiid last year. I think he played something like 68 games last year. So in terms of Charles Barkley's reasoning there, I don't understand that as well. Right? I don't understand what he has there. Now, if we look at the other part of the list, he has Bam Adebayo. I have no problem with that. Anthony Edwards. I don't think that Devin Booker is better than Anthony Edwards. I don't think that Bam Adebayo is better than Anthony Edwards. He is very valuable, and he may be looking at value in some of the things he does for a basketball team. But as an overall basketball player, I don't think that he's better than Anthony Edwards. I don't believe that Devin Booker is better than Kyrie Irving, but that's just me. I don't think he's better than Kyrie Irving. So I think Charles got the list right in terms of its top 3 players. I do believe that those are the top 3 players in the NBA, but I think he got it wrong by excluding Anthony Edwards out of the list. And I would like an explanation for him having Joel Embiid in his top 10 when he didn't include Kawhi Leonard in his top 10, because he said they were both injured players. As you guys know, today's NBA opening night. The 2 games that we have on the schedule are going to be the Knicks versus the Celtics as the first game. I think that's starting 8 o'clock Eastern time. And then the second game we have coming up is going to be between the Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So those are going to be the 2 big games for the night. But leading into opening night for the NBA, TNT released its top 50 players. And today they released their top 20 players by their top 3 basketball analysts in Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley, and Shaquille O'Neal. I actually found out about this morning when I woke up, and I checked my phone and I saw it show up on my feed, and I saw something that absolutely astonished me. Now, Charles Barkley has LeBron out of his top 10. That doesn't shock me because I think he got that right. But it was Kenny Smith's list that actually floored me when I saw it. Because I was like, Kenny Smith is a guy that knows basketball. I just finished listening to him on Mark Jackson's podcast talk about different eras and all of that. So he is someone that knows basketball. So when I read his list, I was like, Kenny Smith has to be trolling here, or he has to be a serious prisoner of the moment when I saw his top 2 players going into this season. Okay, so let's get into Kenny's list here. We're going to put it up here. And we got this from House of Highlights. So let's just take a look at it. Kenny's top 20 NBA players. Number 1, he has Giannis Antetokounmpo. Number 2, he has LeBron James. Stop. What are we doing? Like, what in the world are we actually doing right now? I don't know what's worse. The fact that Kenny has LeBron number 2, or the player he has right after LeBron. Let's continue on with the list, bro. Like, yo, whatever, man. Kenny Smith's supposed to be from New York. He's supposed to know ball. I don't know what he's talking about. But anyway. Number 1, he has Giannis. Number 2, he has LeBron James. Do you know who he has number 3? Nikola Jokic. Number 4, SGA. Number 5, Joel Embiid. Luka, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry. Oh, he don't even have Anthony Davis in his time. Anthony Edwards, John Morant, Wemby, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, Jalen Brunson, Anthony Davis, and Damian Lillard. Yo, what kind of list is this? What kind of list is this? Okay. So according to Kenny Smith, LeBron James is a better basketball player than Nikola Jokic, SGA, Joel Embiid, Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. If that were the case, why doesn't that materialize on the basketball court? Why do all of those players that he has listed there either had a higher seed in the regular season or had better numbers? LeBron is better than Nikola. Let me ask y'all a question. Last year when y'all was watching the playoffs, what game did y'all say to yourself, man, I think LeBron the best player on the floor? What was the game? I don't remember any game. What I do remember is at certain stretches we were like, Anthony Davis is the best player on the floor, or it was Nikola Jokic. That was it. So to have him ahead of Nikola Jokic is a joke. To have him ahead of SGA is an even bigger joke. Like you have jokes and you have a bigger joke. That's a bigger joke. Joel Embiid, that's the biggest joke. Luka Doncic, that's the joke of the year. That's how you goes. That's how it goes. LeBron is not better than Nikola Jokic at all. He's not better than SGA at all. He's not better than Joel Embiid for damn sure. He is not better than Luka Doncic at all. It is very, very clear. Because there's some people that are going to act like they don't watch basketball. Well, I look at Luka's numbers and I look at LeBron. I'm like, well, what does Luka do better? I don't know. Have you ever watched a basketball game? Have you ever seen how Luka is able to affect his team in terms of their ability to win games? I mean, Luka just came from the finals. I mean, that's all Luka did. Luka was the guy that beat the guy that beat the guy that beat LeBron. Luka beat the Wolves, which beat the Nuggets, which beat the Lakers. What else do we got to say? Like, what else do we got to say? Now, if you want to say LeBron is better than Kevin Durant, that's a different argument. You want to say he's better than Stephen Curry, that's a different argument. But to have Anthony Davis as the 19th best player, you're going to put Jalen Brunson ahead of Anthony Davis? You're going to put Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Kawhi Leonard, although I think he's better than Anthony Davis, but he's not healthy, so I'm not even going to mention him. James Harden ain't better than Anthony Davis. He not. So I don't know what the hell Kenny Smith is talking about with this list right here. This list is straight up trash. And let's get to Shaq's list since we on it. Shaquille O'Neal's top 20. Nikola Jokic number 1, which he's correct. Giannis number 2, which I'm cool with. Luka number 3, which I'm definitely cool with. Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry? He got Stephen Curry, LeBron, KD, Joel Embiid, SGA, Anthony Edwards, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and nah, he bugging. He bugging. But then again, Shaq has Victor Wembanyama. I think out of his top 35, Shaq is bugging with this list. He bugging. This list is he bugging. He had it right when Nikola Jokic, Giannis, and Luka. He had it wrong with Steph. I would put SGA over Steph right now. I would put SGA ahead of Steph. I would put Anthony Edwards ahead of Steph. And I definitely think that Anthony Davis should be in the top 10. As you guys know, the number one story this offseason for the NBA, apart from the Olympics, has been LeBron James and the Lakers. To a lesser extent, JJ Redick, but really, Bronny James has been the number one talking point this entire offseason. And it looks like going into this NBA season is going to continue to be the case. Now, why is that? Obviously, Bronny James, who was picked as the 55th overall pick by the Los Angeles Lakers in the second round, is LeBron's first son. So with that, it's going to come a lot of attention, a lot of media hype. And it's been exactly that. Just yesterday, I saw an absolutely ridiculous post, I believe on the account Basketball Forever, where they had an image of Klay Thompson and Bronny James. and they're like, Bronny James scored more points than Klay Thompson. You know what I wish they would have done? I wish they would have put up a graphic of Bronny James next to like John Morant. And I wish that Bronny James probably scored like 37 points, and I wish John Morant scored like 16. And then I'll ask the question, so what does that mean? That Bronny's more impressive than John Morant, or he's better than like that? Like, I was like, this is the clown. You know what I'm talking about. And I sent it to some NBA players. Even they were like, yo, what the hell is going on? Like, what in the world is going on? But when we first got the news that Bronny was officially a Laker, the next question was, well, is he going to be playing with LeBron? Now, prior to today, we've been hearing rumblings like, he could start. He could play the first game. He could play the first game for the Lakers on opening night. Some people are like, what? Really? The 55th pick? Play the opening game? Really? They're like, yeah. It could be a possibility. Well, now it looks like it has officially been confirmed from the NBA that we will see Bronny James and LeBron James play together in their first game on NBA opening night for the Los Angeles Lakers. Okay, so let me show you the source that we got this information from. We got it from Bleacher Report here. We want to put up the image for you guys here. It says LeBron and Bronny very likely to be on the floor together early into the Lakers versus Wolves. And then it has next to the post, LeBron and Bronny plan to make history early into the regular season debut as the first father and son duo in NBA history to play in the NBA together. Lakers want this to happen in the flow of the game and in a competitive environment. So that's according to Shams, right? That's according to Shams. So we've got that. I also saw before doing this show that King Griffey Jr. and his father are actually going to be in attendance. So this is definitely a moment that has been orchestrated not only by the Lakers, by the NBA, and they want it to be a very special moment. So what are my thoughts on all of this? Well, if we look at it from the standpoint of LeBron or an NBA player playing with his son in the NBA, that's pretty cool. And it's unprecedented, quite literally. It's never happened before, right? There is no precedent for it. It's never happened before, and they're going to be making NBA history. So it is history, right? But the question then becomes, what comes after that? Number one. Number two, is this really what it's all for? Just to have that moment? And ultimately, who benefits from this the most? Well, personally, I think the person that benefits the least from this is Bronny James himself. I think the people that benefit the most are his father and the Los Angeles Lakers, and to a certain greater extent, the NBA. I think more people would be receptive to this idea if, at the very least, Bronny James was a good player, not a great player, not an all-star caliber player, not a superstar player, but a good enough player. And all too often what we've seen is that some people have tried to make excuses for, well, he's at a, and look, the thing is, people have said, what do you expect from a 55th pick? That's a fair question. The next question then becomes, why is the 55th pick getting so much attention? And you're like, well, he's getting all that attention because of his father. Well, if you're going to get that attention, people then begin to ask the question, why aren't you putting a spotlight on players that are actually good versus putting a spotlight on players that would generate clicks and headlines and revenue? Because there are a lot of good players in the NBA that don't even get close to the amount of coverage that Bronny James is getting. And the only reason he's getting that has nothing to do with his basketball game, has everything to do with who his father is. So therefore, it dilutes, number one, the product overall, because this is what you're promoting. And number two, it says a lot about the NBA personalities and companies that are promoting this and calling it news or something substantive. And then you have bigger voices within the medium telling smaller voices, oh, you just need to shut up and like it. You need to shut up and like it. You don't need to have an opinion on it. Shut your ass up, watch the game, and be happy about it. Really? So the viewing public and the consumers don't have a right to have an opinion on a product that they patronize? Really? Is that what you're saying? Is that the type of messaging you want to send out to the masses? That you're not allowed to have an opinion on a product that you patronize? Really? So all you want is our money, but you don't want our opinions? Really? Is that what I'm meant to believe here? Well, certainly that's the message that you're sending. So to me, look, I think this is going to be exactly what it's intended to be, a spectacle. I think that once history is made for the first time, meaning it has happened the first time, then after that, we've seen it. If you've seen it once, you've seen it 100 times. And it is clear to me that the Lakers definitely want to have this moment. And, look, this is what the Lakers are all about these days. I think they're not really focused on winning, but they're definitely focused on stealing headlines and ensuring that they remain at the top of the news shows every single morning. That they're the most talked about team, and certainly they've accomplished that. It is sad, however, to see that the Lakers now are being talked about because they become the showbiz team, but it has nothing to do with actual winning. It is a shame because the Lakers, for goodness sake, have 17 championship trophies, right? 17. Like 17. So one would think they would be focused on more substantive issues, but apparently for them, this is what it seems. This is what seems to be taking their attention. As you guys know, Jaylen Brown is turning into a bit of a polarizing figure, but not in a traditional sense when we're thinking about sports figures that are polarizing. Usually players that are polarizing, athletes that are polarizing, they have certain people that like them and they have other people that don't like them. But in the case of Jaylen Brown, he seems to be the people's champ. A lot of NBA fans like him, NBA players like him, but it seems like the corporate world is not a fan of Jaylen Brown. And this was made public a few months ago when Stephen A. Smith went on the ESPN First Take and basically said, according to some of his unnamed sources, that Jaylen Brown essentially isn't marketable because he's arrogant and he knows the reasons why certain corporations are deciding to steer clear of him. And then Jaylen Brown took to social media where he basically sent a message directly to Stephen A. Smith where he said, reveal your sources. To that, which Stephen A. Smith responded with by saying, no chance in hell that I ever reveal the people that told me that. Otherwise, I'll be deemed untrustworthy and therefore no one would ever speak to me again. So that happened. Then we had the Summer Olympics and Team USA was selecting a bevy of NBA players. And guess who didn't make the final cut? NBA Finals MVP, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown did not make the cut. And a lot of us were like, if the Finals MVP can't make the cut, there has to be something beyond basketball that's taking place here. Clearly, there's some politics taking place, and some people speculated it's because he's not a Nike athlete, he didn't make it, and all of those different things. But then again, Kawhi Leonard wasn't a Nike athlete, he was a New Balance athlete, and he made the team and then abruptly was replaced by Derek White, who I believe is also a Nike-sponsored athlete. So what happened yesterday, I was seeing all over the internet a sit-down that took place between Stephen A. Smith and Jaylen Brown, where Jaylen Brown confronted Stephen A. Smith directly. And they had a candid back and forth where both of these gentlemen expressed their views. So what happened today, I was just kind of combing through the internet. I wasn't really paying attention to this. We had already shot all the content that we wanted to shoot for the day. Then I came across this segment on ESPN First Takes featuring Sham, Stephen A. Smith, Molly Karam, Wendy, and Brian Windhorst, and Shannon Sharpe. And they were reacting to the back and forth that took place on Stephen A. Smith's show yesterday. And then after they played it, Stephen A. Smith spoke, Brian Windhorst spoke, Sham spoke. But when it came time for Shannon Sharpe to speak, he absolutely floored me. So what we want to do now is we want to play exactly what Shannon Sharpe had to say on ESPN First Take in response to some of the grievances from Jaylen Brown, and then want to come back and really get into the show. Take a listen to what Shannon Sharpe had to say here.
Guys, some of the biggest stories in the history of America has been broken by sources. And a lot of times journalists are willing to go to jail to not reveal their sources. And sometimes the court system will threaten them. And they say, well, you're just going to have to put me in jail. Because if you rely on sources to do your job, once you give them up, you will no longer have a job. Nobody will ever trust you again to tell you information. Now, the problem, I don't have a problem. I think Jaylen Brown should be commended. But Stephen A., guys, Wendy, Shams, you know this. When you take the approach that Jaylen Brown has taken, that he's going to be outspoken about his community and things that he sees, you have to understand, you get to control your actions. You don't get to control the consequences that comes of your actions. Hey, y'all can cover up that logo, but y'all going to be in them Reebok uniforms because they are the official outfitter of the 92 Olympics. Jaylen, bro, you're not never. No person has ever been bigger than the sport itself. You're not about to be the first. Not Jordan, Not LeBron, not Magic, not Bird, not Steph, not KD. Whatever the sport, pick a sport. No athlete's ever been bigger. Bro, I love what you do for your community. I love how you stand up and speak positive about our community. I love how you're trying to bring financial literacy to our community. But, bro, it's not the end of the world because people don't think that Madison Avenue don't think you're marketable. It's not the end all be all because you're still a hell of a ball player.
But, Shannon, it doesn't make it right that he should be punished for that. And you know that more than anybody. Speaking out on behalf of
We all know that, Molly. We all know that, Molly.
Yes, Molly. I agree 1,000%.
Yeah.
Well, I respect his decision. But, Molly, again, you control your actions. You don't get to control the consequences that comes along with it.
Yeah.
So you heard what Shannon Sharpe had to say. I want to be honest with you guys. I was genuinely perturbed by some of the things that Shannon Sharpe was saying. He was up there talking about, oh, you know, when you say these things, you got to be prepared for the ramifications of what you said. You can control what you say, but you can't control how people react to what you say. So what is the things that Jaylen Brown said exactly? If we go to the beginning of this started when Stephen A. Smith was on ESPN First Take and essentially was going through some of the things that his unnamed sources were saying. He's unmarketable. He thinks that he's better than everybody. All of these different things, right? And therefore, he isn't marketable. Correct? We got that straight. Then Jaylen Brown responded to him by saying, state your sources. Put a name on it so I can know the people that said these things about me. Stephen A. Smith refused. Then he didn't make the Olympic team. Stephen A. Smith then came out and basically said on Twitter, I told you so. Then out of nowhere, they had to sit down yesterday where Jaylen Brown was now expressing himself on Stephen A. Smith's platform. So what is the thing that Shannon Sharpe is talking about? What are the things that he's referring to when he says he would have to pay the price for the things that he said? What are the things that he said? For his actions. What actions? Being intelligent? He got to pay a price for being intelligent? Huh? Being a person that speaks truth to power? He has to pay the price for that? Let me tell you guys what my takeaway from all of this is. As I'm listening to this, I'm beginning to glean a better understanding of the type of players that these leagues in the media like to promote. Because you're telling me that Jaylen Brown can't be controlled. Why? Because he can think for himself. So therefore, what does that mean? You're going to promote players that can be controlled? That's the first thing. The second thing, and I'm not going to lie to you, as Shannon was up there talking, I just couldn't help but think about him and his savior, LeBron James. Because I have heard Shannon on numerous occasions come on TV and cry on the behalf of LeBron James because of how LeBron James is being treated unfairly, the unfair criticism, the unfair scrutiny. And it's all basketball related. But in the case of Jaylen Brown, the guy is talking about serious things, and all of a sudden, man, you need to understand how the game go. You need to understand how the game go. You say this about people, you got the right to say it, but there's going to be some. You even heard in a soundbite at one point, Molly Karam stepped in like, but that doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right. And I'm just imagining if it was LeBron James in the shoes of Jaylen Brown, would Shannon Sharpe take the same tone? Would he have the same tone? Well, obviously, we all know the answer to that. He will be up there crying. He'll be up there twerking it up all over the table, knocking over drinks, pouring honey all over the table for some damn LeBron James about how LeBron James is being treated unfairly and unjustly by the media. How everyone is on a witch hunt for LeBron James. Where in the case of Jaylen Brown, you can clearly see that he's being blackballed to the point where you had Americans rooting against Team USA because of how Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum was being treated. I don't know if y'all remember that. There were Americans that were rooting against Team USA because of how these two Celtics players were being treated. And they thought that they were being treated unfairly. It was a disgrace that the Olympic team did not have the finals MVP. There is no conscionable reason for that to have taken place. I don't care what you say. Oh, it was a chemistry. You make them fit around the MVP. Jason Tatum was the only American basketball player last year in the world to make the All-NBA first team. The only one. Not LeBron, not Joel Embiid, not Anthony Davis, not Anthony Edwards, not Stephen Curry. None of them made it, but he did. And you saw they treated him like a piece of doo-doo. Y'all saw that. But in the case of Shannon, I was just totally confused by what he was talking about. Because I know, had it been LeBron, he would have been up there taking off his glasses, slamming on the table, defending LeBron James. And it speaks volumes that a person like Jaylen Brown is not being promoted, and they look for the bonehead NBA players and promote them. Do you know what that says to you for the people that are confused? It says that they promote these people because they believe that's who you are. And the reason they don't promote Jaylen Brown is because they don't believe their audience is that intelligent. So he won't connect the same way. So let's promote every buffoon or that will say anything insane or stupid, because we know those are the players that resonate. I hope y'all peep that too. Because I don't understand why a person, a black American like Jaylen Brown, who's very intelligent, I think he's the youngest member of the Players Association. I think he was the VP or something like the youngest. He even negotiates his own contracts. You know, the thing that they have lawyers for, he does it. Which means that at one point he negotiated the most lucrative contract in the history of basketball. This dude did. And he getting blackballed, and Shannon Sharpe up there twerking it up. Well, you see, you know, if you're pissing people off, there gonna be some repercussions. Let that have been LeBron James. I want to go deeper into this, but I won't. I won't. Because if Jaylen Brown is not marketable, and we look at all the other players that are, what does that say about them?